What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the CrazyFaceUno Podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? If you like to help us support the show, go visit CrazyFaceUno.com today. There you can purchase items from the online store and donate. Hey, if it sounds a little different, there's a reason for that. Go check us out. We are uploading the video of this podcast on YouTube. So if you're interested in watching this podcast, go visit CrazyFaceUno on YouTube. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest today. Please welcome Tony Wiltse. What's up, Tony?
Hey, what's up, man? There needs to be a clap track right there.
I know. There needs to be a lot of things. The sound's not there, the music. I didn't even introduce myself as the host, as the guest, and you're the guest. So, hey, we'll work it out in the future. We're just troubleshooting and figuring things out. I'm really excited to have this revised platform. We did this back when I was in Minnesota before my wife and I moved. I don't know if you remember some of the videos that I was doing on YouTube, and just recording the podcast as we recorded. But I've learned of this. I've been working on it over the last couple of weeks. I'm not very good at graphic design stuff, so it's been a bit of a challenge and something I'm learning as I go. But I'm excited to kind of roll this out. It's my first one. You're one of my best friends, man. So who better to roll it out with than somebody I trust and can goof around and shoot the shit with and figure it out. So thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and I'm here to party, so
woo!
Hopefully that helps.
Cheers to that, huh?
Cheers.
It is we're actually doing this one. It is Monday night, and so if you're listening, we just did this last night. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, but otherwise, hey, we're gonna have a good time, man. We're gonna figure this out as we go. Dude, you've been on the show what, 2 times now? This is the 3rd.
Yep.
That's really cool.
We did when we all got together in South Bend, the Calvert, the Bethel Boys series. I think that was the first one. That was the first one, yeah. In Ty's basement, and then the second one. I mean,
yeah, we did a call. Yeah, you called me. It was when I first moved to Florida. It was last fall, and man, I know it won't be the last time too. We've got some fun ones that we've talked about. So I'm gonna tease it a little bit here, but you and our other best friend, the trio here, Sammy P. We got to get him on the show sometime and have you guys. Have you guys just talk about your bike trip that you guys took back in college. Man, I love hearing those stories. They never get old. They're always fun to hear, and I'm really jealous I never went on that trip with you.
Yeah. I actually went on the first bike ride, my first bike ride of the season today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it felt like so amazing. I just felt alive, and just stuff like that. It makes me want to live.
Sure. Do you still have the same bike, or is it a different bike?
I have the same bike, and I have like most of the same stuff. So actually, at the end of last season, my light, like as I was riding, it just broke and fell in the street. And for some reason, I kept it on the bike. And so today, I undid it and gave it to my wife, and I was like, "Say goodbye." It's been that thing is like 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, shoot, you've gotten your money's worth out of that one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, I was just thinking, I don't know what I was thinking.
Probably a lot of things.
Man, the brain never stops, does it? How many miles did you go, or how far did you go today?
I don't know mileage, but I basically set a timer on my phone for 15 minutes, and because my wife, Maria is my wife, and she basically we came up with a thing that like a couple days a week when she gets done with work, um, she'll watch the kids, she'll take care of the kids, and I'll go do something like outside, get out by myself, and then a couple other days a week she'll do the same. She does Zumba,
Nice.
and so yeah, I'm planning on biking, walking, running, maybe play guitar or something like that. Just something to,
Yeah, dude.
refresh myself. So
For sure.
yeah.
Yo, let's remind the listeners about who you are. One thing I've been doing with some of my guests that I don't really know, that are new to me as well, that aren't necessarily friends of mine, and I think it could be a cool little quote exercise. If you're listening audio wise, I'm using the quote air quotes in my fingers here, but is what are 3 things that you would want our listeners, people, to know about you?
I never like the list, the number list, unless you give me like 2 hours to think about 3 things that the list that I would like the listeners to know about me.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, I mean, for these purposes,
through this side ball, I don't know, curve ball. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. Curve ball thrown at you. Totally.
For these purposes, I mean, the first thing is you and I met in college. We went to Bethel College. Now it's Bethel University. We were like 2 doors down, I think, in the dorms freshman year. I was trying to think. Down. Yeah, I was trying to think today, like,
I think it was
if I remembered.
It's okay.
Oh, it was 3 doors down. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I think maybe it was 2.
Like the hit band.
Because there was Alex Kiefer's room,
and then someone else's.
Someone else's. Couple quieter guys, and then you guys were in the corner, and you had 3 roommates. Yeah,
the loud ones.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was trying to think today if I remember the first time like I actually met you, and I didn't remember. Do you?
Yeah. I like Sam and I had been there early, right? Because we had been there already like a week, so we were pretty settled in and felt pretty good about things because we were there for soccer and preseason stuff.
You guys were like smelling bad,
probably.
And, starting.
We about lost the video.
Starting some diseases in there, like related to like moisture, like.
Probably. Let's be honest. It's probably something that was happening.
Bacteria. It wouldn't have been good for coronavirus these days.
No. If you're watching and listening, you probably heard it. I've got the camera kind of like propped up on this box, but the box is a little too small for my little tripod deal. Man, guys, we got some work to do on this video podcasting, but we'll get there. Just be patient with us. It's going to be a cool little feature I'm pretty excited about, but I apologize for any of inconvenience noises and weird shots of my ceiling you just saw. Yeah, dude. As far as like remembering when you came into Bethel, I remember Derek and you both. I think you guys came about the same time, didn't you? Well, good old D-Rock.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I run with Derek, Griffey, and Jake Roboska, and I
saw a picture of him recently, Jake.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah, he is. I mean, we haven't really talked in a long time. I mean, probably mostly since college, or maybe a couple times in between. But yeah, he was. I guess I don't know him presently, but I mean, he was like he's passed away. He is currently living, to my knowledge, but he was an awesome guy. A really like very, very talented guy. Musically, he plays plays so many instruments, and the bass definitely was his specialty. So
You think when they were putting you guys together, they were like, oh, they're all musicians. Maybe they'll be like a band.
that would be cool, but actually, we chose to be together because we knew each
Oh, did you?
other.
Oh,
We like Derek and I were in a band together in high school. We didn't go to the same high school, but we were all part of the same church youth group.
yeah.
And so yeah, I think actually we all played in that band, that youth group band. At least all of us at some point.
Yeah,
It was River Valley.
River Valley, yeah.
Yeah, River Valley Church.
Interesting. Well, dude, you mentioned that you have a wife, Maria.
I do. Maria.
You also have two gorgeous, fun, funny, cute, adorable little girls, Alicia and Esperanza.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Yeah, Saturday was Mother's Day.
Sunday.
This past weekend, yesterday. Yeah. It's been a long time. And you know, I like hardly ever post anything on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you know, some people will post like it's like written, like it's like a personal note written to their like partner and say like,
yeah,
Maria Wiltse, you are the best mom to our two kids and whatever. But obviously it's not totally for that person. It's like, at least how I understand it is like, anyways, I felt that on Sunday. I was like, I want to post something, or I want to like share to like a group or something. Be like, my wife is a kick-ass mom, and she's an amazing wife, an amazing woman. And I did not do it, but I mean, I told her, and you know, things like that. But I guess I understand why people do that. It totally makes sense, because I was like wanting to do it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get on the Facebook and go at it.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I think there is an element that's like, it's not just for the other person, because if it was just for the other person, you'd just write them a letter, right? But I think there's something about putting yourself out there and saying like, it's like proclaiming your love for someone, you know?
And that's what I wanted to do on Sunday. But I did not. I did not. Hey, if I was on Twitter, Instagram, I probably would have hit them all up.
You'd have been tweeting that all day.
TikTok, Jip Jop, Flip Flop.
What's your hat, dude?
Venice Beach, California. I actually got it here in Indiana at a Kohl's like for like $2, but I love Venice Beach. Venice Beach is one of my favorite beaches in California, I think. That and Santa Monica.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. It looks like
in LA area.
It's got this reason, like just from where it was until I saw it up close, but it kind of looked like a like version of, have you seen the Invisible Children like old t-shirts? It was like hands like together, our liberties bound together. So it looked like that with like different colors. It's like
that's cool.
But then when you get closer, it's like, nah, not really anywhere close to that. But
well, at least he gave you some good feelings.
It did give me some good feelings, and I love that saying, dude. I've actually, man. Well, we can go into this direction. We haven't finished your 3 things, by the way. Which
I'm so glad. Yeah, I have it right here. Well, I don't have the 3 things, but I have it right here that I'm like, oh, sweet. He's not going to go back to it. I'm so glad.
I haven't forgotten, dude. I haven't forgotten.
I like thought, oh, I could like jot down a note or something, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'll just come up with something.
No, I just really love the saying, our liberties bound together. I really like that logo. I like that whole concept. And I know several people from the Invisible Children community have gotten tattoos of that. I think it's a pretty cool like tattoo idea. Like the design it's awesome. It's really cool. But I don't know. I really like that saying, like our liberties bound together. But yeah.
Did they do that while you were there? Like, did that?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
stuff,
It's
image.
Yeah, it was one. I think it was maybe for one of my tours that I was actually on. But yeah, it was just the idea that, like, you know, the conflict that we were trying to, you know, make an effort to solve and eradicate, the LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army, which was abducting children and women, killing people, and still are, by the way. So if you're listening and you're like, man, this guy talks about invisible children too much, well, tough luck. Go listen somewhere else, because it's probably gonna be a common theme. But yeah, I mean, our liberties bound together, and the whole concept was, I think when they merged, it was the first tour that we did that was pretty much completely centered around the conflict not being in Uganda. And it was kind of like out, you know, it's in Central African Republic, the DRC, you know, Sudan, all those different places. And so we had even some people on tour that weren't necessarily, you know, they were advocating, the Ugandans were then advocating for, you know, their African brothers and sisters, and in different parts of you know, the country or the continent. So it was cool, you know. And the concept, it's like, doesn't matter where you are, it's like our liberty is bound together. Like liberty in the world is bound together between, it's all of us. It's that joining of two, you know. And it had a picture of two hands that were together, and I like that. I think that's really cool.
It reminds me of that quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that's something like injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it does, similar to that, right? I mean, in some ways. Yeah. It's like that. I feel like our liberties bound together is more like a positive side of that saying. It's like the same thing, but it's like the positive version of it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think about invisible children probably more often than I like to admit sometimes.
Every day?
You know, I don't know.
Every week? Probably
every day. Just, I mean, the depth of what I think about is probably in question. But I mean, I'm super close with a lot of the people from Invisible Children, and you know, I have a lot of guests that come on from Invisible Children, and I'm constantly thinking of inviting guests that have came from that, you know, world, or that's how I met them. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we get updates still, you know, as former staff. We still, it's all like former alumni, so it's like an alumni update, and it's just internal, and it's just people that have formerly worked for Invisible Children, and we get these emails sometimes, and you know, it's really cool. It really makes us, at least it makes me feel like I'm still connected, you know.
That's cool.
Sometimes we get information that's like, hey, like, we're giving this, please don't share this anywhere, this is private information, you know, like, we're going to post this once we posted it, like, feel free to go. But which is how things operated back when I worked there too. Is, you know, we still did all the same things. We updated the alumni, we updated people. There's Facebook groups with, you know, that we share things and are constantly connecting with one another. So I don't know, it's cool. It's just this community of people, you know. It's like college. Imagine, you know, we're still friends from college. We're still friends with a lot of people from college. I think, you know, we're still in connection with them, and I don't know, it's a similar experience, that it's this group of like-minded people that have a common goal with, you know, we had so many different viewpoints of like life, but we had one common goal, and we worked together to do that. I think that's really cool.
Hey, I know you put it on the note sheet, talk about the book Sapiens. I just keep thinking about that book as we speak for so many of these different things.
Yeah. Talk about it, man. You recently read it, right? Like, when do you just finished it, or have you finished it yet?
Somewhat recently finished it. Yeah, sometime in the last few weeks, I think. It was a pretty heavy book. I mean, It's called
Yeah, it is.
I believe it's called Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind, something like that. And yeah, I'm trying. God, I lost the thought that I was going to say about what you were saying. Invisible Children. Well, I kind of
Yeah, I don't know. Here,
I kind
I'll
of
look
lost
it up.
it. I kind of
That's fine.
lost
I'm gonna look up
you, Jamie.
I'm gonna look up that Sapiens book. Yeah, I've got some cool little if you're listening audio wise, I'm looking up the book
Brief History of
Sapiens.
Humankind.
Yeah, it's a good book. You can see it if you're on YouTube. You can see the image of. Kind of know it's Sapiens: Brief History of Humankind by say his name, Tony.
Yuval Noah Harari. I believe he is Israeli, and he originally wrote the book, I think in 2011 in Hebrew, and then since then it's been translated in like 20 some different languages, I think. And I believe I read that I think he had maybe one other person help him, but he was the one who translated it from Hebrew to English, which is very, very fascinating and like very difficult,
Yeah.
To my knowledge, that typically does not usually happen. Like the author translates the book himself. So
Yeah, that's cool. And I really I don't know if he does it. I know Rogan talks about this all the time, but he's like, I really like it. I don't like it when the authors don't read their own book. And I'm the same way because it's different. Like you get more inflection and you get more meaning from it when the author reads it. I don't know. I don't think he does, but I do like that. I'm gonna read the summary if I can find it. Oh.
yeah, he sounds like a really interesting dude.
That's a long summary.
Well, it's a long book, man.
Yeah, true.
It was
All
intense, but I was into it.
So if you're watching, the reason I'm leaning over here is my computer's down over here. So that's why. If you're listening, it doesn't really affect you. But all right. So from a renowned historian comes a groundbreaking narrative of humanity's creation and evolution, a #1 international bestseller that explores the ways in which biology and history have defined us and enhanced our understanding of what it means to be humans. 100,000 years ago, at least 6 different species of humans inhabited Earth, yet today there is only one Homo sapiens. What happened to the others, and what may have happened to us? Most books about history of humanity pursue either a historic or a biological approach, but Dr. Yuval Noah Harari breaks the mold with this highly original book that begins about 70,000 years ago, with the appearance of a modern cognition. From examining the role evolving humans have played in the global ecosystem to charting the rise of empires, Sapiens integrates history and science to reconsider accepted narratives, connect past developments with contemporary concerns, and examine specific events with the context of larger ideas. Dr. Harari also compels us to look ahead because over the last few decades, humans have begun to bend laws of natural selection that have governed life for the past 4 billion years. We are acquiring the ability to design not only the world around us, but also ourselves. Where is this trending us, and what do we want to become? Featuring 27 photographs, 6 maps, and 25 illustrations.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll stop there. I won't butcher that.
That makes
summary.
Me want to read it.
Yeah, I won't butcher that summary anymore. So, but yeah, it's a really good book. I've listened to it on Audible. It's one of those books that, like you were talking about. It's super in depth. It's very deep. It's very detailed. And man, if I'm not like physically reading a book like that, it's sometimes really hard for me to like, I don't know, just hold on to the information and like not lose it.
Yeah,
So,
same here.
There's definitely some things that I remember from it, but it's a lot. It's like more recollection when if someone was to talk about it. But yeah, it's really cool. I know that it definitely, even in the summary, it's kind of like the sociology of like life of like our humankind, It's
Yeah,
like
I like how he mixes like biology, like I said, biology and history, right? Which
yeah.
is like sociology is in there. But I like how it had the biological part.
Yeah, and how it just talks about how like the things I really appreciated were it's how it connected people between like today and how like let's do relationships and how like the relationship of today of like couples, married life today, and then how that evolved over time to kind of be, like that kind of thing. How like this is how things started back in whatever BC, and then this is the way it's kind of evolved over time. And I really appreciated that viewpoint, I guess, and that like take and understanding some of those things. And you can kind of start to see trends. And I think that's kind of what he's talking about in the like looking to the future type idea.
Yeah, and there's oh man, there's just so many things. Because for me,
it's a big book. I mean, it's
for
not
me,
short.
And for me, it's helped me in general, but specifically right now, everything going on with coronavirus, the global pandemic, it has actually given me, I think it's actually given me like reassurance in the sense that like based on history, like this is nothing new. Like
Sure.
These things have been happening. It doesn't diminish what's happening and the people who are dying and people who are, and so many people losing their jobs and
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it doesn't take away that it's a terrible situation and terrible time for the world.
Right, but for me, it's been helpful to be like, okay, things like this actually have always happened throughout history, and people throughout history, based on what he said, like it would just happen, like the plague in the medieval times. Like, I mean, people would stay in their homes, and people would die, and people would get sick, and
can you imagine some of that? I mean, gosh, man, like we've lost a lot of people in the world to the coronavirus. It's like a lot, like 80,000 or something like that. That's been like documented or whatever, something like that. It's an absurd number, and yet there are times in the history of humanity that we lost more people than that. I mean, wasn't the like Spanish flu like million, like something like that? And like some of the other like the different things, that have gone on, and that's just what we know. Like we don't even know. Like, and then there's people like Genghis Khan, and like I've heard, I don't know this for sure. This is a hearsay from another podcast, also known as the Joe Rogan podcast. But he talks about it when he was talking with Dan Carlin, who has done a whole like series on Genghis Khan. But like they changed the like carbon footprint of the world because of the amount of people that Genghis Khan like killed. Like that's insane, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking about too, how only up until somewhat modern history have we been so connected globally. Like way, I mean, that's just a very small snippet of history where we've been so globally connected. That's what he got into through the book of how, different bands or tribes of people way, way, way back in the day, there were Homo sapiens and there are different other type of, I forget all the different, type of
breaks
Homo
it down. Yeah.
Homo erectus and Homo.
Yeah.
I forget, but and so they would be in these very small communities, and I mean, most people would only see a certain amount of space, very, very small space in their whole entire life, and really not communicate with anyone else outside
True.
of that. And so, and as time went on through all these different things like colonialism, like imperialism, trade, and a bunch of
Yeah.
different things, the world just became more and more connected. But it just blows my mind for a number of different things to think, wow, what is our lives like, what
Mhm.
we know, so many of the things, like it has only been like that for like a teeny tiny blip of history,
It's
and
true. Yeah.
before that, like things were totally different.
Yeah. 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 It is kind of crazy to think about, that aspect of things for sure. Dude, you should check out, there's another book. Maybe it's just called Tribe by Sebastian Unger. It's a shorter one, but it's talking about like the tribal mentality of like
Mhm.
humanity. It's another good one. It's a short little read. I think like audio wise, it's like 5 or 6 hours
Mhm.
compared to Sapiens, which is like 18 to 20 or something like that. So when you put that in context, it's like a little bit different.
Well, that's what I was thinking about too, how, like we came to know about what was going on in Uganda, in the
Sure.
DRC, and how, like, he talks about in Sapiens, like related to tribes. Um, I probably have it somewhere written right here, but it was something like, as far as like in nature, biologically speaking, like
Mm-hmm.
there are very few or like no species that like basically care about their whole species as a whole, if that makes sense. It's like
Mm.
in like uh human,
Tribes. Yeah.
yeah, and Homo sapiens included, or at least used to be. um and so I guess that kind of made me feel a little bit better, because I was like, man, like if I don't really care about someone who lives like on the other side of the world, I mean, maybe I should like look at myself and whatnot. But the other part of me is like, well, I guess it's been like
It's
that for like
kind
millions
of
of,
part of it.
like thousands and thousands of years. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
I
But
had
it said
a
how,
I had a conversation. It's kind of switching gears though. So go on. Why don't you finish? Why don't you finish what you're saying?
well, he just said how, I think he cited a few examples, maybe,
Yeah.
how like basically it was like majority, if not all species, like, I mean, for the most part, just like, you know care about their small community or
Yeah.
whatever. Like chimpanzee is not gonna like go out his way to save, typically, like another chimpanzee that's from a different tribe,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
100 miles away or whatever.
Interesting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting.
So up
We.
until somewhat modern history is when we started turning to this like
Hmm.
global, like human, which is part of like humanism. Like we're all of equal value. We're all on the same page. We're all in this together, that type of deal, which I'm
Yeah.
for. And I like that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, obviously part of me is like, okay, I don't care about that person because I don't know them at all, and they
Sure.
live, 1,000 miles away. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. This is where I was going with this. Is that I had a conversation on the podcast with Maria Crawford. So if you're listening and you haven't checked out that podcast, go check it out. It's really good. She's a fantastic gal, and we got to chat, but she's actually in her graduate program for counseling. And one of the things that, I don't know how it came up, but we were talking about empathy. And I feel like it ties in with like what we're saying here I asked the question, is empathy innate? Like, is it something we're born with? And she had an interesting perspective, you know, and I think it is to varying degrees, but I don't know. I think that's an interesting thing. Like I do think it's innate. I think it's something that we're all born with to a certain extent, maybe, and then it's something she was kind of thinking it was, or saying that it was a little bit more like a learned behavior. And I think that there's an element of both, right? But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I can totally see it with my daughter, Esperanza. So she'll be 2 in September, and
Sure.
she is so empathetic. Like, actually today I was like in our laundry room, and I was getting my bike out of there, and I went up and I nailed my head on the top of the dryer door, and it knocked me down. I like fell down on the ground. And I was like, ah! And I probably was swearing, and she came around the corner, and she was like, oh no! And she was like, ah! I was like, oh.
She's like scared probably, and like
she does that all the time. I mean, our Alicia is 6 months. She'll be 6 months this month, and you know, she just starts crying, and Esperanza will start going, you know, like, oh no, like she calls her Nunu or Bebe. She's like, oh no, oh. And even in I mean, part of it may not be empathy. It may just be like, these are the people who she knows. But even pretty much every morning, whoever goes into her room to get her out of her room, out of her crib, she'll go like, Mama. She goes through like the family list. She's like, Mama, Bebe, or Nunu. And then she's like, Papa. So yeah, I just feel like she's so empathetic. And I mean, I'm sure she has learned, hopefully she has learned some of it from us in the short amount of time, but it's, I mean, it's just there.
Yeah. I feel like it is too. I think it's there. I think it exists. I think, is it possible that you could, like, I mean, this is maybe like a Freudian idea of like, well, if you grew up around like, you know, shitty situation and like didn't feel love and didn't have that, can't that go away? Like, it's a learned behavior both directions, I think, you know, you could say. And so I think it's like the depth of empathy grows and is learned, but I think that it's something that we're born with, and then our circumstances, our life circumstances potentially like change that or alter that. I don't know.
And I feel like that's part of being a parent and raising kids. It's like they have so much within them already, you know, and so much that, I mean, based on their like their genetic makeup, like that like shapes who they are. And I think sometimes I feel like, again, I've been in it for less than 2 years, but so we'll see. I'll ask myself in like 15 years, 20 years, but I feel like part of it is like kind of like what you said, at least I feel like I heard, is like things that are already within them. It's like trying to make it so that they keep those, or so that those like grow. I mean, I just see how,
but the magnitudes of how those grow is based on, in a lot of ways, like you, right? I mean, it's like as parent, as a father, and
their environment,
mother. I mean,
right?
I'm watching the show on Netflix, Married at First Sight. Bro,
I haven't heard about it.
I love stuff like that. I love those kind of shows. Like,
wait, can I guess it before you tell me anything about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Married at First Sight. It's a couple, a man and a woman. They're a white couple. They're like 28 years old. And
Go on.
Yeah, I want to stop there.
All right. Well, there is a white couple, but there's three white couples. No, two white couples,
Oh,
and
there's
then
multiples.
two African American couples, and But for me, like I love shows like that because I love thinking about the psychology, the sociology side of things, of like how they interact and how. But I bring this up because watching this show, you see the interactions with parents at a certain point in time, and you hear about the stories of like how they were growing up and like how their life growing up was, and then you see that play out in their relationships and the things that they talk about and the ways they handle situations, the way they handle conflict, all of those different situations, which I don't know, for me, I think it's really cool to see. And so it ties in with what we're talking about, because it's this like there is an effect that like our upbringing has on our life and who we are today. And that's why this podcast is really fun with first time listeners, where I go through that origin story. We start in current day, we throw it back to childhood, and then we work our way back up to current day. And you learn so much about people, I think, when you hear about where they came from and where they're going, and where they're at now. And I think it just plays into who we are, what motivates us, what makes us excited, and like what I already said motivates, but like what, I don't know, like what gets us up in the morning, why do you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up? I mean, you wake up because you have two beautiful daughters that need your attention and food. But, it's
6:50 in the morning, baby.
Ooh, yeah, birth control. Thank you. Works every time.
Not every time.
It's working so far.
Oh, good for you. That's
32
good.
years strong, man. 32 years strong. No, I don't know. I think it's just a really interesting. I love thinking about that idea and those concepts, and like how, I watched the show, and it literally. But this is me, right? Not everybody watches the show with the idea of like putting themselves in that situation, but I internalize those things. Like that's the kind of thing I like about shows like that. Of man, like, well, how is. Oh, interesting. Like I see similarities in myself in that person and how they handle that situation. And then, you think about, well, interesting how, they have experts on that are therapists and sociologists and psychologists and pastors and whatever. And talking to these people, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Like I'm going to answer that question, like how has that affected me? And you look at, I don't know, just even relationship stuff. Like, oh, wow, that would be a really fun exercise. I was telling Dana, my wife, but I was like, man, that'd be a really fun exercise to do. Like we should do that together. They had like one that was like games where it's like, I don't know, they had the different suits meant different things. And then they had one that was just like questions in a bowl where they put sticky notes on each other, and they put blindfolds on, and then you had to like grab the sticky note, and then the person read it, and then you had to answer the question with your blindfold on. And I don't know, it's just like they're exercises, but I think they're like really positive. I think it's good stuff. I mean,
I would love to do that stuff.
Right. Like, can you like learn about your spouse more than, I mean, these people they literally met their spouses on their wedding day. Like they saw them at the altar.
And this is real life.
Yeah. So they're married. Contractually, they're married. Everything's married. They learn about each other. They have these experts that have like paired them up and like interviewed them and gone through different things and like had different counseling sessions and whatnot. And they pick these groups, but and so they're just trusting these experts that they've paired them with somebody that would be a good fit for them. And it's really cool. I mean, it's really a cool experience. And it's 8 weeks, and you're learning about, people in a 2-month span, and you're married, and they get to the end and they get to make the decision, I guess, whether they divorce, and they enter into it knowing that it's a thing. But I don't know. I've been married for going on 2 years now. Been with my wife for, I don't know, 6 years. Let's just say 6. I don't know what it is. We talk about it so many times. We've gone back and figured it out and forget. And I don't know. Both of us, like you ask my wife, she doesn't know either. So I don't feel bad about it. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm still learning stuff about her. She's still learning stuff about me. You know, I'm changing. I'm trying to adapt and adjust and be the best version of myself. And man, like, I know my shortcomings, and I'm trying to work towards those things. I just don't think you can ever really know everything about someone. You know, like, it's a continual thing. You have to relearn and bring yourself and humble yourself. And I don't know, it's really cool to think about. And I don't know, just that I know this started with the whole idea of, you know, is empathy innate, but, you know, being products of our environment, products of people that we're around. But I don't know, I think all of that plays in and ties into who we are as human beings. And that's ultimately what it is. It's like understanding ourselves and understanding how we interact, how we handle conflict, how we handle these different things. And all of those things are continually changing and learning and bending and adjusting. And, you know, based on the people that we have around us. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. So it's a fun show. Maybe not for everybody, but I love it.
I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. I mean, I love those types of shows.
Yeah, that's like what you said about how we're continually changing and growing. And yeah, I've read some. Have you? I feel like we may have talked about it. Have you or have the listeners heard of
Hey.
Pima Chodron? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She's a American-born Buddhist nun.
You've told me about her, but I don't know much about her. Go on, continue.
I actually heard about her from Amy Poehler, from Amy Poehler's memoir. Yeah, so
side note, do you like memoirs?
I love memoirs because I love people's stories, and it's like I mean, I always I have like a huge list of books that I want to read, you know. So basically, whenever it's like, oh, I'm on to my next one, I just pick from there. And so I have most of the memoirs that I've read recently in the last 4 years or something have been comedians. And I guess I've done like the Obamas. I read Michelle Obama's book and Barack Obama's book. But yeah, it was Amy Poehler. She was talking about Pima Chodron and how, you know, she just her books really affected her in a great way. Maybe like when she went through her divorce or something like that. But yeah, anyway, I've only read 2 of her books. One was on meditation, and the other was called Welcoming the Unwelcome, which I think is her most recent one, maybe last year, I think it came out. There's another one that I think is her like most well-known book, and I want to say it's called When Things Fall Apart.
Okay. That sounds really familiar to me. So
yeah, and I think that's the book that Amy Poehler referenced, which you know, I still would like to read it. I've listened to her some, like Pima Chodron, like her just some teachings, and yeah, I guess I've, you know, I grew up in the my faith background is Christian, like evangelical.
Yeah.
And so
right there with you, brother.
Right there with me. So I'm glad I don't feel alone. And so so
right there with you, brother.
So anyways, but like, you know, I mean, maybe your experience, my experience, I had a lot of great experiences in general in the evangelical church, but there seems to be I guess this is probably a common trait in conservative and like fundamentalist religious group sex anyways, but you know, there seemed to be like certain things you just stay away from. So like maybe like it was like, oh yeah, like you can learn about different religions, but it seemed to
Mm,
usually be more about like for the purposes of like learn about them so that you then can
yeah.
like
Defend
evangelize
your
to
faith
them,
better.
do that, basically like know your stuff so you can like have a solid ground and
Mm,
that type of deal. So I mean, I've since I can remember, I've always been interested in people's stories who are different from me and who come from different backgrounds than me and different
yeah.
cultures. I mean, even like rap music. Like, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why like rap music is so popular in like with white kids that live out in the country. Well, maybe not so popular. It was somewhat popular. Like I taught in a small rural uh, school that was like pretty much 99% white kids. And I mean, country was very popular because that was part of the culture. But also, there was like a
Yeah.
decent amount of kids that liked hip hop. And I was in like suburban culture. Um, I mean, a little bit of diversity, like ethnically, racially, but majority white.
Yeah.
And I just for some reason I just that was one specific music genre that I liked like in middle school and high school and but I can look back now and be like, oh, it was cool. It was like for me it's like reading a book. It's like you get to be transported to this other world that you're not used to or you don't know about, and when you listen to the music or read the story, it's like you're there.
Yeah.
You get to see things and experience things that you wouldn't because of where you live and where you're from.
I think that, okay, a few different things. Hold on to your shorts here. Yes. It's very interesting how music can evoke emotions. Um, it can, like you said, it can transport you into a different genre, different area, different time frame, different place potentially. We've seen it in the classic case study or thing with this is people with dementia or Alzheimer's and how music can take them back to a place really quickly and like have this like really interesting effect on the individual. And I think that's really interesting. I think that's a fascinating concept. Linguistically, like, I don't know, just is it the words? Is it the sound? Is it the music? Like there's so many different things. But we did experience this in our, conservative Christian background, Tony. I mean, worship music, the gospel music that you hear and listen to. I mean, this is something that I don't really appreciate. I don't really like about the Christian faith. Is some of that feels, because it is easy, because you are capable of like evoking a feeling from music, and I question I question how much of it is like real and how much of it is manufactured, right? I mean, you can evoke a feeling when you do an altar call in the Christian faith, when you're asking people to come up front and dedicate their life to your beliefs and the Christian faith and Jesus Christ and all of that. I mean, and you put on this music and you do this whole thing and this whole song and dance. Is some of that real? Maybe, potentially, right? Maybe you do have, like, I know me personally, I have had some very intense personal experiences in the Christian faith, right? But I just, like, as I get older, I question some of that and I go, well, I don't know. Like, I was also trained to do that when I was in youth ministry with you in college. I was also taught how to do all of that. How you set the scene, how you set the mood, you lower the lights, bring up this whatever. And
Bow, bow, bow.
yeah, I mean, there you go. There's another example how music can evoke like love making, you know, like
I've been really trying, baby.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, there's a reason why UFC fighters and MMA fighters walk out to songs and they get to pick their songs and songs that pump them up. I did this all throughout, you know, high school, whether not usually with playing soccer, but sometimes. And then specifically with wrestling, I was always, you know, headphones on, and I had my song, you know, it was my song.
What was it?
Won't Back Down, Tom Petty.
Oh yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah, baby.
Tom Petty.
I know. I mean, that song just, I still hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Like, I don't know. I would get so anxious and so worked up that like I need something to bring me back down. It's a little slower pace, but you know, I don't know. Music is really interesting. It has a way of penetrating the mind and really hitting you in the heart, hitting you in the soul, and evoking emotion. And I don't know. It's really interesting to experience.
Mm-hmm.
You're a drummer.
I am a drummer that I have not played drums in quite a long time, but yeah,
you're still a drummer in my book, Tony.
Oh, thanks, man. I actually my first instrument was trombone in middle school.
Saxophone over here, baby.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the old T-bone like this. And yeah, my dad called me T. That was one of my nicknames too, T-bone. So
I love that nickname.
T-bone, played the T-bone. I know, I can always tell if anyone calls me that, like very minimal people, you're one of them. It's like, oh yeah, they knew me and probably knew my dad at some point from high school or before
you don't really
college.
Like it though, do you?
No, I do like it.
Do you?
No,
okay.
It's just
I've gone away from saying it and calling you T-bone because I didn't feel like you liked it, so I didn't.
Oh no, I like it. My dad is the king of nicknames. He will take your name, even if it's a one-syllable name, if it's like a 3-letter name, and he will knock that off, knock it down, make it smaller and smaller, and usually it just turns into like 1 letter or something. So, yeah. So he had a bunch of nicknames for me.
Did you have any nicknames like in high school, like outside of your family, like by friends?
Yeah, T-Bone, Wiltse, T-Wiltse, T-Wizzle, Wilt Dog,
T-Wizzle,
T-Baby. I think actually Ty Grant called me that, so maybe that was T-Baby. More college. T-Baby, yeah. Hey T-Baby. Yeah, probably a lot more.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but my dad probably came up. Well, my dad came up with some of those, but
I mean, anyway. T-Bone's great, man. It's so good.
Yeah, he's the king of nicknames. I don't remember where we were going with that. Oh, trombone was my first instrument. Then, like a year or two after that, I don't even remember. Like, I just remember my dad. I really appreciate this about him. Like, I can look back and really see how he, like, supported my, my music, learning instruments. Like, he basically, through introducing me to different types of music. And then he played guitar. And so like I would see him play. And so actually, I don't remember. I think maybe I just liked drumming. I think maybe I just would like drum on stuff. And I think he just got me a drum set. And so I got into drumming. I wanted to switch to like percussion in the band, but it seemed like it was a little too far gone. I would have had to do like private lessons and then get caught up with, a year or two people that had been playing, and I just didn't do that. And then like, I think my summer before my freshman year, I started playing high school. I started playing guitar, and I just my dad had a Mel Bay's chord book, which is from like the I don't know, 50s, 60s, old school. It's just like, it's a picture of like a hand, like someone like playing a chord like on the guitar, and then it's like it shows like a diagram of like, your index finger is 1, your ring
What
or
note am I
your
playing?
middle is 2. You're probably rocking that D, maybe. I don't know.
I don't
D7 suspended. Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody on the audio is like, what are they talking about right now?
Well, you're missing out if you're just doing audio, people.
Yeah, exactly. I was holding my fingers up like I was playing guitar, so I don't know what else.
It's like, what note am I playing?
You're number one in my book too, Tony. You're number one in my book too, man.
So yeah, then I basically just picked up guitar and I started playing chords. My dad taught me like a few chords. I mean, from what I remember, he just mostly played chords, and usually like when he would get drunk, he would go into the basement and pull out his guitar and just be like and get like really emotional like into the music.
Maddie, remember one of our friends that he passed away a couple of years ago, but he taught himself how to play. I remember him doing that. Dude, okay, so if I was
that's
like,
basically what I did.
Right, yeah. Like, what's the... I mean, it's obviously repetition. It's like learning anything is like over and over and over again. I mean, it's how I feel about the podcast. If you listen to the first one to now, it's much different. But also, like music, like learning those chords, where your fingers are supposed to be playing, the different chords.
You don't have to use the right terms. We know what you're talking about, Shane.
Right. But like, is the key to learning those, like, you like just get your fingers in the right spot, be able to hit it, change your fingers to the next one, be able to hit that accurately, and then it's just like a process of like speeding that up? Is that...
Good question. I feel like people learn different ways. Like Sure. I have never been one, and maybe it's because that's maybe why I like drums so much, because it's just like a feel. You don't have to, well, I mean, there's some people that can play drums like almost like notes, like different pitches and stuff. But like for me, I've always liked drums because it's just like a feel. You feel it. You feel the rhythm. For like guitar or whatever, trombone, piano, fill in the blank. It's different pitches and whatnot. So like I've never really been able to do like listen to a song and then be like ding ding ding.
Yeah, that sounds impossible.
Got it.
Yeah.
I mean, as I got better and better, like on guitar, I could maybe be like, oh, well, if I saw someone playing, I could be like, oh, I see what they're doing there. That's what I still do. Like I think it's partly because I'm visual. I'm a visual learner, and so if I see someone playing it, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they did there, and then I can replicate it. But that's how it's been for me. It was learn the chords, and then I learned tabs, which basically are like like you can have chords and tabs, but you can learn more like solo stuff and riffs and not just like a simple ding ding, it's like ding, 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 and that will be like notated or annotated. It's basically if you can't read music and you can read tabs, and that's a way to play in a different way.
Yeah, I've not heard of tabs. That's a new one for me.
Tabaroonies.
Tabskis.
Mm-hmm. Tabas.
Tabaroni. Baby Tabaroni.
Tabalicious.
Tabadowski.
You up on your tabs? Been doing tabs?
I mean, my car tabs are good. But, oh no, man. I don't know outside of that.
So, yeah, I mean, that's why I like learning about Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was one of my... I mean, I still do very much like him, but he was one of my like just I loved him so much. And as I got more into guitar and got more into doing like solos and stuff like that, which I don't really do anymore. I mean, I hardly
Yeah.
play guitar anymore anyways, but it was just fascinating to me how he learned and what he could do. He was one of those people that you can he could like play he played left-handed, so most people play like right-handed. He played the opposite, but he could play a right-handed guitar left-handed and
That's
play
insane.
like
It's like
you
upside
would
down, right?
upside down and play like you wouldn't even know.
That's
and
insane.
and so yeah, just when I hear his stuff and see his stuff, I'm just blown away.
Isn't that called like being a savant? Is that what it means?
I don't know, but that sounds great, and it's probably French.
I'm gonna look it up. I got that ability over here. I'm gonna pull this up. Pull it up, Jamie. All right, here we go. Savant. I think it's like a. Well, maybe if we can get there. Oh.
Sauvignon Blanc, the wine, the vino. Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, I don't even know how to spell it. That's half the battle, right?
I just started learning Portuguese on Duolingo like a few weeks ago.
It says a learned person, especially a distinguished scientist.
Oh.
So not, I mean, kind of, but
well,
I think it's more in like
academic, like study.
Academic, yeah.
He was more like street smarts on the guitar.
Yeah. I have to be honest. Like I've listened to some, obviously, like some of the greatest hits of Hendrix I've obviously heard, but I haven't listened to much of his music outside of like the hits. I would like to.
Yeah.
Do you have a record player?
That is on the list of things. Actually, I would like once we pay off our debt, I would love. That's one of the things I would like to do is buy a record player, like a turntable, with also like a CD player and like some really nice speakers.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. And by that time, hopefully, like the girls will be a little bit bigger and they wouldn't just like tear everything down.
Yeah, that's true. I never think about those things. I don't have kids, I don't think
oh God, man. Before like a few hours ago, before we started, I have plants that I'm growing inside to transplant outside, sooner than later. I have like a black like tray, right?
Right.
And
you showed me that.
Yeah. And so, I don't know how many plants, like 20 plants or something. There's 20 compartments, and I've spent a lot of time and care. You know how it is. Like you take care of plants and stuff.
Plants.
And so, like, anyways, beautiful plant. And so half of the day I put them in a certain windowsill because they get the most light, and then the other half I move them over here, actually right here, and so that they get light, right? And so usually, like, before Esperanza gets up from her nap, I will pick up the tray and put it on this table and then move it so that basically she can't touch it, or she can only just like kind of touch it. And like I had bathed her and everything, and she was ready for bed. And then like I just heard
even worse.
Yeah, and then I just heard like and then like no. She says like no to stuff that, like, after she does it, she's like no. And the whole tray, like all the shit was out on the floor with all the soil and all the plants. So we'll see.
Geez.
I mean, I put them all back, and we'll see if I'm thinking maybe a couple might be gone. We'll see if they recover. So anyways, thanks for being there for me while I possibly
but not forgotten.
mourn. Yeah, while I, maybe start mourning the death of some of my plants. There's always more to be had.
What all do you have growing there, sir?
So we live in an apartment, and so we have a big sized balcony. Oh yeah, you've been to our place.
Yeah, it's great. It's huge.
Yeah,
It's like wrap around.
yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It's really
it's
big.
Wide. It's not like, it's like extra wide too.
Yeah,
you
so
got,
I mean
like,
that's especially during everything with coronavirus. I mean, that's like our backyard. Like I go out there with the kids and we hang out there and play
room. Got a
around.
great
And
spot.
it's so beautiful because we're like really right on the edge of downtown, so you can walk into downtown, but we're like in a forest, like in the woods. And so
Yeah.
right outside of our windows and our balcony is woods and beautiful, especially during the spring. It's just been so pretty.
It's similar
So
here. I mean, we live like in the city, but it's like off this like main road, and then there's like a nature reserve like spot, like just kitty corner from our apartment, and then like it's just this, like it surrounds our whole place. So there's like woods, or like this natural area. It's weird to call it woods when it's like jungly.
yeah,
It's not really
tropical
woods.
woods.
There's this tropical vegetation space that's a little woodsy that separates between our like apartment complex and then like the Walmart, but it's a good distance, and then we have that like completely surrounding our place. So
That's cool.
We're kind of similar in that way, but a little bit different because you're like close to the city.
Yeah.
Well, good old Lafayette, huh?
Yeah, and there's no Walmart. Like what I like about Lafayette is like the downtown, they specifically like keep it like local businesses and stuff. So
Cool.
like the Walmart and all that stuff is like out of town. You have to go, like out of the downtown area. So yeah, what do I have growing, you asked?
I did ask that.
So because of the balcony space, land, whatever, I just have containers and stuff outside on the balcony, but I have a bunch of stuff outside. I have like wildflowers, lavender, beets, carrots, peas, spinach, lettuce. I think that's mostly outside. Cilantro, kale I just started coming up. Inside is basil, tomatoes, peppers. I tried to do lavender, but then I forgot about lavender. Like it actually needs, like, you don't want to have it wet, like damp. It needs to be like kind of dry, and I was keeping it wet like other stuff, and nothing came up. So
Interesting.
that's about inside. Basil and some more wildflowers inside. So
does lavender need like a lot of sun?
yeah, I think it's full sun, and then like in the beginning when it's just seed and starting to come up, like you can have it like somewhat moist, but then after that it likes like dry, like rocky soil, because I read it's like Mediterranean. It comes from the Mediterranean, so I kind of forgot about that. And
isn't it kind of like a bush, or is there a lavender bush and lavender, like are they the same thing?
I don't know. I feel like it does kind of eventually turns into kind of like a bush, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I grew it when I had a house for like 2 years, and it came up a little bit, but
nice.
I probably kept it too wet. Yeah.
See, that's what I was thinking. Like, it'd be nice to have. We were talking the other day. I feel like it'd be really nice to have like a flower like that smells good, and like a fragrant flower that like growing in the house.
I'm excited for the wildflowers because it's specific. It's like, it was this mix of wildflowers, and it's supposed to attract a bunch of bees. So, I'm excited to like get stung and,
Yeah, just make sure they're not the murder hornets, right? Yeah, but if it is a murder hornet, please take a picture so I can see it.
Oh, I see a murder hornet coming my way. I better get my phone to try to take a picture.
Yeah, that's
Hold
the
up, one
requirement. Don't sting me yet. Let me get a picture first. Yeah, exactly. No, I have a habanero plant that is growing massive. Like it is huge. Like what
Does
we
it have
touched
any
on,
fruit yet?
it's just got the little buds, like it's starting, like it flowered and like, when it, I don't know, the how peppers, they kind of like form that little ball, like little tiny marbly ball, and then it grows into something. So it's like, I've got a few of those, but, so I have that. I also took I took a jalapeno that I bought at the store that I didn't use, and it started getting kind of wrinkly and soft, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take this. I'm gonna stick the whole thing down in soil in a like an old soup can. I'm gonna cover it in soil, water the hell out of it, and see if something pops up. Like,
There's like
if
100
nothing
seeds
happens,
in the jalapeno.
yeah, like if nothing happens, nothing happens, right? But like, yeah, let's just see what happens. So I did that. I've got a husky cherry tomato plant, so it's got several blooms on it as well. It's growing, but the habanero plant is currently larger than the tomato plant, and the tomato plant isn't small. It's big too, but yeah, it's huge.
That's that good Florida weather right there.
I guess so, man. Like it must love it. I don't know. It's not even in like, I don't know. It's great. I've got mint. I like making mojitos, so gotta have your own mint for mojitos.
I thought about that. Like, I don't really make cocktails, but I saw like a starter like kit at Target, like the dollar, like spot or whatever. And I was like, oh, that would be sweet. You could grow like tons of like herbs and stuff, so you could start doing the.
I know. I want to get some more
drinks.
basil. I don't have any basil, but I want to get that. That's one thing I want to get. And then, I also do have cilantro. Cilantro is weird. Like the store cilantro and like grow like homegrown cilantro. Like I've never had good luck with cilantro. Actually, here's a funny story. I had some back in Minnesota, and there were new little sprouts coming up, and I thought it was a weed, so I pulled it. Because it looks like a weed. It's got the like spiny like leaves, where it kind of like pokes, and then it like, I don't know. So
I had good success when I had a garden at my house for a few years, and we had a lot of cilantro, and it was really good. And then you can like keep it, like don't totally pull all of it, and then it forms the little coriander seeds, and then like you can use that. Well, you can dry those and use them like in cooking and stuff, or you can use those to plant like the next year.
It still has that same like cilantro taste?
No.
It turns into coriander.
That is like coriander. Like cilantro is like the leaf, and then coriander is like the little ball, like once it's like, what is that called? That turns to seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Man, you just blew my mind. I gotta look into that. Like legitimately, that's like really cool. I didn't know that at all. That's really cool.
I don't really have much experience with coriander, but sounds like you might have a little bit more than I do.
I mean, I like to use it in recipes. Chicken, it's great with chicken. You gotta be careful. That stuff will overpower.
Well, because isn't it common in like Indian dishes? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it's an intense spice. But yeah, I mean, coriander goes in like some of those curries and those different things for sure.
Okay.
I want to use like mine. I want to make a salsa. I have this one like roasted tomato salsa thing that I do. It's like you take a pan and you like blacken, the tomato, the skin and all that, and then you like blend all that up, and it's like got this like charred, smoky. Like you do that with corn and tomato, and so you've got this like the corn and the tomato are both like charred and delicious. It's the best one like that I've made. I made some homemade salsas in the past, so I don't know.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. pretty exciting.
Yeah.
What
I get excited about talking about plants and gardening.
I love plants, man. They're like my, I don't know, they're like my other children, other than my dog.
Maria told me that they're like my children.
Yeah. Seriously, I did the similar thing today. Like you were talking about how you took your, you take your plants, you move them in one window, and you move them somewhere else. And I do that sometimes. Like I'll move my plants on the balcony around a little bit so they have more sun at certain times of the day. But I did that with I have several cactus, cacti.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I put them out in the sun today.
To interrupt you, do you remember when we did the cross country trip? So for the listeners, we drove from Indiana, South Bend to Dallas, and then I went to San Diego and spent the summer there, and then Shane, you went to San Antonio. Spent the summer there, and then you drove from San Antonio to San Diego, and then I had a flight back to Indiana, but I forfeited my flight, and we drove from San Diego back to Indiana. Do you remember when we were Arizona-ish, and we found those little cactus things, and they had needle this
the
needles.
Cactus blossoms. So
we picked out
you can buy them. So you can buy them at the store. You can especially down here. You can go to, there's this farmers market thing that Dana and I go to, but you can buy them in the store. The nice thing about those, they don't have the needles.
Oh God, I remember our hands, and they were they were clear, you could kind of see them but not see them, and it's
like having a splinter that you couldn't get out.
Yes. But I feel we stopped at it was I don't know if it was a reservation, a Native American reservation, but there were Native Americans that were selling art and jewelry and stuff.
Yeah. Was
right? And I feel they told us about those.
Maybe. They taste like a melon. They just taste like melon. And when you skin them, we got better at it as we went on. But you just peel it, so you hold it and try to hold it and peel it off, and then find another spot that you can peel so you can hold that spot and then peel the rest of it. But yeah, it was good. And then avocado toast with honey. Remember that?
Oh, dude. So good.
We were eating we were eating rabbits. We didn't eat much at all. I don't know. We were just eating to survive.
Well, because we just slept in our car.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We stayed with a friend in Iowa, Tracy. Dude. It was at the Catholic Worker.
I think Tracy lives in Minnesota, in St. Paul now.
Well, last thing I knew, she was still in Iowa.
I think she's in St. Paul, Minnesota. I think she's down from where I used to live.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Fun fact. But yeah, we did San Diego. We drove from San Diego to the Grand Canyon. I think that was our first. We did one long 9-hour trip, right? So
yeah.
Thank goodness, dude. I was thinking about this. I drove 18 hours straight from San Antonio. I left at 9 o'clock at night or something, and drove straight through the night. I made it to San Diego at I don't know, 8, 9 a.m., something crazy like that. It's super early in the morning. We hung out for a couple days, which was really nice because I could refresh. And then we took off from there, from San Antonio or San Diego, and we took a 9-hour drive. We just beelined it there. Saw the Grand Canyon. Spent the next day. We slept in a park. I think we talked about this on the podcast last time, but
yeah, we probably did.
Oh God, it was so cold.
So
cold. Maybe, I don't know. It probably wasn't even that bad, but we both came from San Antonio that year, had the most 100+ degree days in a row ever. It broke some stupid record. I don't know what it is about me and like going to different places and like experiencing record breakers, but God, like there, I did the same in Minnesota, but the opposite direction when I moved there. Like, nah, I'm good, man. I've experienced the hot of the hot and the cold of the cold. I've experienced it all, and now I live in Florida. But yeah, it was super cold that night, and we both had just like sleeping bags. Or I had a sleeping bag. I don't think you had one, right?
I don't think I had anything.
I had a sleeping bag. We had a fire. We like bought hot dogs or something, marshmallows, and like did it up, you know. And did we even like? I think we bought a 6-pack or something. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we didn't.
I don't even remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't really remember drinking in those days.
We weren't even 21 yet, so I don't know if we did.
I think I turned 21. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was 21. I was 21.
I was
my
too.
junior year. Yeah, we just didn't drink a whole lot because Bethel and Covenant, and whatever. But yeah, dude, we started this fire. We're like, it's getting kind of sleepy. We'll just sleep around the fire, you know. Try to go to bed. Try to lay down there, and yeah, it was really. You know what I think it was? I think we used one sleeping bag as like the base that we laid on, and then the other to like cover, right?
Yes, or some
Something
blanket
like
or something.
Something like that.
It was not much at all.
A sheet or I don't know what it was. But I don't know, man. But it was so cold. At some point in time, we decided that it was like, dude, we got a spoon. We got to snuggle because this is cold. And
survival instincts, man.
And then it wasn't maybe 15 minutes later. I was like, bro, I'm going to the car. Like, I can't do this anymore.
I never thought that the car would be warmer. I just thought by the fire would be warmer.
Right.
And then we got in there and it was like, oh.
Yeah, we learned. You stayed there. You didn't come right away. You came like 30 minutes to an hour later.
Yeah, that's why. Because I was like, oh, the car's not going to be warmer. It's going to be cold. Like, the fire's warm. So I put my hand in the fire and I was like,
3rd-degree burns. No.
Dude,
my favorite memory from that trip though is the Monument Valley.
Remind me, Utah.
We stopped at the Sonic before we got there, right? We stopped at the Sonic. It was late at night. I think it was like 8 or 9 at night. Like it was late. We were hungry, so we stopped at Sonic, got some food. We were thinking about just like staying right there, like just driving up the road a bit and like sleeping and calling it a night from driving. But we talked to that couple. Somehow one of us, I think it was me, I don't know, one of us started a conversation with that older couple that was sitting there at Sonic, and they were like, "Where are you guys headed? What are you doing?" You know, we're like, "We don't know. Like, any suggestions? What should we see?" And they were like, "Well, you need to go to Monument Valley. Like, you got to check it out. Like, have you ever heard of that?" And we're like, "No." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, drive now would be perfect. Like, drive now, drive there, and then like the morning, the view is gonna be beautiful."
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. So I think it was an extra like 2 hours out of our way, like an hour and a half or something like that. It wasn't like it was close, but it wasn't like super close. And we're like, okay, let's do it. We parked they have like a hotel there, motel or whatever, small little thing. And then, so we parked in that parking lot, slept in the car again, because we're not sleeping anywhere else. Too cold. And then, the morning, you wake up earlier than I do. So you woke up early and you came, and I remember you like knocked on the window.
Oh.
And you were like, "Dude, you gotta see this." And I was like,
Because it was pitch black when we pulled in.
You could see these like darker figures, but you didn't know. We had no idea. We didn't Google it. We didn't look it up. We had no idea where we were at or what we were about to see. We couldn't see anything. I mean, it's like the middle of nowhere, Utah, and I think it was like 10:30, 10:30 at night, something like that.
Yeah.
11 o'clock at night, super late. Yeah, we couldn't see anything.
The colors in the morning with the sunrise and
mind blowing. I think you were. I vaguely remember you saying something like about like, I don't know, to the effect of, "I know it's early and you like to sleep a little bit, but dude, you gotta see this sunrise. Like, you gotta see this."
That was really me going out on a limb because I knew like that was taking a big risk. Like I could have got like mauled or something by
I'm not a
the
morning
animal of
person, people.
Shane.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person, people. I don't like it. I don't like getting woke up. It's not my thing.
I remember, yeah, when we lived together, I would be like, "Hey, good morning," like, no, and you'd be like, "Don't talk to me."
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, I'm still a little like that. If I have to wake up early like that, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that was my favorite.
Morning,
that's one of my.
man. Oh yeah,
See,
I didn't remember it was Monument Valley.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember there were like these wild dogs at that place? We were like sitting out like on. You remember that? Like we were sitting out on like rocks, just like looking out over. It must have been Monument Valley, and like we saw these like dogs come out from nowhere. They came up to us, and I think I maybe even like put my hand out. And then there was like a guy who was like the caretaker or owner of that place, and came around and was like, "Hey, if you guys see any wild dogs around, like don't do anything with them. They're very dangerous," and like whatever. And
I don't remember that at all.
I remember like I was like, "Hey, buddy, like how's it going?" Like,
wow.
I don't remember if I petted him or like he came up really close to us.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all, man. I'm gonna bring up Monument Valley for people if they haven't seen it, so they know what to see. Yeah, I don't remember the wild dogs at all. I remember like because there was like a restaurant and like a gift shop area, and then they had that balcony out the backside of it. And I remember we went out and like just watched the balcony, and like people legitimately looked like ants. Like they were just so small, and you'd see the car driving, but like it looked like just so small. I just remember that, but all right, I'm gonna look it up. What else do you remember from that trip, dude? I mean, Colorado, we slept in that park in Colorado.
Yeah.
That was a late one too. I think we went straight from Monument Valley because we like
probably
went to Arizona and like up, right?
Yeah, I want to say it was just outside of Denver, I think. We slept in this like beautiful park in our car. In your car. We drove your car.
It was ours. It was ours.
It was ours. But that car, man, I can't believe it made it through all these mountains. And like I just remember like going up like mountains or hills, like foot all the way down on the accelerator, and it was going like 50 or something, like 40 or I don't know, like
yeah, it was a Kia Rio, little Kia Rio.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, everybody, here we go. Check this out.
Oh wow! See, I don't remember like that specific those rock formations.
Yeah.
I wish I could have remembered those.
Yeah. See, this was like the road in, I think.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Just beautiful, man. I just remember it was just so gorgeous.
Wow. Do you remember we picked up
here?
I don't know if it was probably in Arizona or Utah. We picked up this old like native man.
Oh yeah, we drove to the bank or something, right?
Yeah. We were like on the out in the country, and like I think we maybe got out to like look at some like I don't know beautiful landscape or something, and then there's this guy, and I don't know if he came up to us or he was hitchhiking.
I think we just stopped. Like that was totally like our thing. We like wanted to like that was like what we thought was like the coolest thing, right? It was like
and I don't even remember if do you remember, did he like I feel like from my memory he didn't speak a lot of English, or maybe his English was just a little rough, or
I feel like you spoke Spanish with him, but am I wrong?
Oh,
he was a Native American guy though.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he was quiet. He didn't talk a lot, but I don't know. Yeah,
we were
cool. Asking him about his story and about people, and like I don't know.
Tell us all about yourself in the 20 minutes that you're going to be in our car, pal.
That was right after Monument Valley, though.
Okay.
That would have been that day. And then I think that was the next day. Like, that day was the one that we covered a lot of ground. Like, when we, like, our days that we, like, rode back. And I think that was the day that we drove to all day to Denver. We made it to Denver, like, super late. I want to say it was, like midnight. Like, it was, like, super late. We weren't supposed to, like, stay in the park. Because we thought about it, because there was that little pavilion and it had a little chimney or like a fireplace or whatever. And I think we ate some food. We sat there and like ate some food, kind of looked around. It was dark in this little town. And then we just went and slept in our car in the parking lot. Nobody bothered us, but we got up super early that morning. I remember we just like didn't feel comfortable with that spot.
Yeah, that's the key. Get up early before anyone gets there.
And then we drove from there. We drove like down the mountain, like down the mountains. And do you remember coming through and we stopped at the river? That was like,
oh, the Colorado River.
Yeah,
we swam across it.
Yeah. We like got in it and swam. Yeah. It was nice. It was like crystal clear. It was like super clean. It was like the first time we like quote air quotes again showered. Like we bathed, like rinsed our body off, and it was better than probably what we smelled like before. But it wasn't. Yeah, you imagine what that car smelled like. Like I'm sure it smelled like just BO and like boys. Yeah.
Imagine what it smelled like before too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then we met up with Tracy in Iowa.
Yeah. That was
Nebraska was the worst. Just the like fields of grass.
Yeah, flat.
Nothing.
Kind of like Indiana, but without corn.
Worse.
Grass.
I don't know how it gets worse, but it was worse. For sure. Well, dude, it has been real. It's been really fun to talk with you. Let's wrap things up. What do you say?
Sounds good. Yeah, I keep looking at the time, and I thought it was an hour 30, and I'm like, oh, it's going over.
Well, I do a hard cut with the audio podcast that I do at 1:30 because it's kind of the max. My podcast, like it's what it allows me to do, and I thought it was a good, stopping point. And because we're doing video, it's a little bit different, and I have to adjust things a little bit different. And I'm learning, guys. So as we go and as we alter things, got to be patient with me, and we'll get it figured out. But thank you all so much. Thank you, Tony. You want to leave us with anything? Give us a nugget.
Nugget. I had chicken nuggets like last night.
Nice. That sounds
for Mother's Day. That's what my wife wanted.
Nice.
She wanted that McDonald's.
I love that. McDonald's, man, that's good.
Yeah, I'm not that big of a fan, but she likes it, and so
Well, T-Bone,
that's my nugget.
I like it. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it. We got to get the music on there. It's really weird not to close this thing out with music, but
all right. I feel great.
Here we go. I know.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. I mean, we got to get you and Sammy on here to talk about your bike trip. That's a must, man. It'll be good. I think you two getting on here and talking about that bike trip is going to be one of my favorites for sure. I love hearing you guys' stories.
I think it'd be great to be able to do the video too, to be able to see each other. Yeah. I'm down. Sure. We just need to get Sammy, give him a call.
We got him.
Sam, hey, I know you're not going to hear this, so.
Hey. Yeah, right.
Maybe you will.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Your contributions help us tell more stories like Tony's and stories just like yours. So thank you all so much for tuning in, listening to the show. Speaking of contributions, please visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of those fun social medias. Soon TikTok. Oh man, it's not there yet, but get ready. Like, share, share the podcast with your friends, your family, doesn't matter. Strangers on the street. Welcome to everybody. Your contribution, again, helps us tell more stories like Tony's. You can go on our online store, visit CrazyFaceUno.com. There you can buy items from our online store, merchandise. We've got some mugs. We've got some fun things coming as well. So hold on to your shorts, because there's going to be some fun stuff coming on in the store and coming on to the website as well. We're gonna be revamping things over the next rest of this year. So hold on, it's coming. We appreciate you guys. Seriously, thank you all so much for tuning in. And any contributions, whether that's a share, a like, or a listen, or a donation, that's cool too. We're accepting to all of the ways that you want to contribute to the podcast. Thanks again. Wow, what a closeout. What a real ender. But thank you all again so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. We love you. Peace. It's over.
Is it? It still says live.
Yeah, it's not over.
It's not over.
There's a second button I gotta hit.